This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by All-Star Vacation Homes. And, when you're planning your next trip to Walt Disney World and you're saying, the discounts that Disney's offering, they're just not the way they used to be, why not take a look at an All-Star Vacation Home? Not only are they great values, but you're going to get a lot for your money, including maybe your own pool, full kitchen, game room, movie rooms. There's so many different amenities that come with any kind of the All-Star Vacation Homes that they have to offer. So check them out online at www.allstarvacationhomes.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Friday, August 18th, 2010, and this is episode 762 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hotchkiss of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
Big, wide, and very, very cold. Be nice, guys.
Oh, there's so many ways I could go with this. Who don't I like right now? I don't even know what the real answer is.
Yeah, I don't either. Wait, say it again, Scopa?
Big, wide, and very, very cold.
Oh, Canada.
That's right.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, Canada.
Hey?
Hey. Also joining us on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome to the show, Mike.
I could begin to think where Mike was going with that. Exactly.
Also joining us on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World, broadcasting today from... Where are you from?
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
And how is Fort Lauderdale?
It's absolutely fine. It's a little humid right now, but it's good. Hello, everyone.
It's humid in Florida, really?
I know, that's what they say.
Who would have thought it?
Who would have think?
On today's show, we're going to be talking about extra magic hours and how it affects our park touring. I know that, with many times we do recommend, avoiding the park that has extra magic hours, but inevitably you're going to not listen to us. And we don't take our own advice all the time. So, you go to the park and it's extra magic hour day, not a problem. We want to take advantage of that. Certainly it's a perk of the resorts, right? And how does that, going to a park that has extra magic hours, how does that affect our regular park touring? So I'm going to start with you, Scopa, because, when you're talking about touring the parks on a day where there's extra magic hour, be it night, be it mornings, how does that affect how you tour the park?
Well, the first thing that I always think about on extra magic hour mornings is that by about 10:30 or 11:30, the park's going to be much more crowded than it would normally be because you're just attracting more resort guests because of the extra hours. So what I'm thinking is that the most important thing that I try to do in the first hour is to look for those real popular attractions, the headliner attractions that I think are going to get crowded first, and I take care of them as soon as I can, because on those extra magic hour mornings, my thought is to get out of the park by noon. I'm thinking that I'm going to get in there. I'm going to get my first hour in. I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm not going to have breakfast. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to go right to the most popular attractions first, get them out of the way, no later than 10 to 10:30, and then I'm free to do whatever I want to do. That's for the extra magic mornings, extra magic hour mornings.
What about you, Newell?
Normally I don't do extra magic hour mornings. I like the extra magic hour evenings. So normally, if it's a chance for me to sleep in late, I'm going to sleep in late.
Now that's interesting that you said that, Mike, because I've shared accommodations with you many a time at this point, and you barely sleep, and then you're up at like 6 a.m. So why?
Well, yeah, my idea of sleeping in is 6:37
exactly. So why is it? Explain it to me, because I'm sure other people kind of know your habits as well. Why would is it just personal preference? You don't go there for the mornings?
I prefer to let everyone already be established in the park and let them get in there and go to where they need to go, and I just show up. I like to show up around 10.
Mm-hmm.
This way, if it opened around at 9, everyone's usually where they need to be. In the case of Epcot, I like to get there at 11. This way, by then, World Showcase is opened up. So Future World usually is a little more open than it would have been at, Rope Drop. So I tend to like to go a little bit later than but I like the extra magic hour evenings better. I'll stay, like Mike said, till 3 a.m. in some cases at the Magic Kingdom. I love doing that.
Okay, what about you, Lon?
Well, if Newell is ebony, then I must be ivory because we couldn't be more opposite in this. I am much more a morning person. I would rather be up at 6 a.m. to be out the door at 6:30 a.m. to catch or 7 a.m. to catch breakfast somewhere on the way and do evening or do morning extra magic hours in a park. I like that. I like getting through that first hour with no lines rather than having to wait the crowds out at the end of the day. By the end of the day, I'm usually exhausted.
Yeah,
this could be related to the fact that I've recently given up caffeine, and I can't stay up late anymore. Or maybe I'm just getting old.
Yeah,
let's blame the caffeine now. We're gonna blame the caffeine, all right? All right.
That sounds good. Well, you are the second oldest person on the podcast. We figured out.
No, I am.
No.
Oh, you're not.
I'm like third.
I'm older than Len. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm actually fourth. It's you and I have the babies, Matt.
Oh, see, there you go, Len. It's not so bad.
Hold on, wait, not by much. I'm
He's
only
most mature.
I'm only like 4 months older than Len. I'm not that old.
Well, I know, but
Hey, Len, don't let the Crypt Keepers get you down, okay?
Yeah, really. I'm sorry. What was that, Grandpa? I can't hear you.
Listen, Sonny.
And then Annette is like much older. She's like weeks older than me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know that is. No, but I like the one thing about evening extra-magic hours. It's if I go back and I take a nap, right? Then it's completely different. But I will then I will echo Scopus thing though. In morning extra magic hours, I hate in the morning in general. I hate taking out time to eat. I usually do that before I arrive at the park. You know, I'll have a snack or something before noon. But usually I hate eating before noon because those are prime touring hours. Whereas for like evening extra magic hours, I'm all about let's stop and have a nice meal because by that time people are leaving the park.
Right.
And it's a good strategy, right? So it's the exact opposite of morning extra magic hours. In evening extra magic hours, you can kind of wait people out. So if you want to have an hour and a half, dinner at 8 p.m., go ahead and do it because more people are leaving the park then, and it'll be lower lines by the time you're done eating.
Let me ask you this, Len. On a day that you're going to the park though that has extra magic hour mornings, once the extra magic hour mornings are gone, do you feel like your park touring changes versus a day where there were no extra magic hour mornings?
No, not really. I don't think it does. Hey, hold on, my dinner's here.
What about you, Scopa? Do you feel like there's a difference for extra magic hour mornings and like 10, 11 a.m. Is that different for you than on a regular park day?
I really consider leaving the park by noon because.
So you use the extra magic hours and then you're done with them. And
yeah, the thing is, Matt, I really think that my own opinion and just from my own observation is that the park seems to have like 20% more people by 10:30 or 11 o'clock than on a normal day, and I just think that by late morning, early afternoon, the crowds are going to be so much that the lines are going to be too much for me.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. Yeah, but the thing is, if you get through the headliner attractions early, it's not so bad.
Yeah, but I think Scopa's got. I mean, it's not even that. I mean, you're right about that, Len. I think it's just the perception of more people in the park. You know what I mean? It's like if the park is crowded, even though you're doing well with a decent touring plan, I think it's just the perception that there's a lot of people there. It's not as good as when you're in the park. Say when you're in a park and you go and you're thinking to yourself, man, it's like nobody here today.
Yeah.
And that is like, I think then you feel it's a totally different feeling, and I kind of agree with Mike there. I mean, personally, I'm not a huge fan of extra magic hours. I don't really use the mornings at all, even when I'm staying on Disney World property. The evening ones I do use, but it's more like, okay, everything else is closed. Let me go do extra magic hour evenings here, wherever here may be.
That's exactly what I use it for too. It's like when everything else is closed, I go to the Magic Kingdom till 2 a.m. But
yeah, speaking of the extra crowds there, Len, for extra magic hours, it always intrigues me that the average park guest who does no research beforehand, shows up to the park at 10 a.m. or whatever, yet they all know the extra magic hour schedule like it's written everywhere. You know what I mean? It's like they never a day
right?
Yeah, they all know what the extra magic hour schedule is all the time. They flock to it like moths to the flame.
And the amazing thing is like people will do evening extra magic hours.
Uh-huh.
But they won't do morning extra magic hours. Even though morning extra magic hours you can get more done.
Well, I think it's what you said, Len. It's that it's easier to stay up late than wake up early.
I was going to say it's because as Americans we've lost that Puritan work ethic that our forefathers brought to this country. But my forefathers were from Ohio, so maybe I don't know anything about anything.
I'd like to see the birth certificates for those Puritans that came to this country, by the way. I want to see if they were born here. Just saying.
Awesome.
So, Newell, let me ask you about evening extra magic hours, as I know that you are a fan of those. It fits into your schedule a whole lot more. Let's say you're going to let's say I'm going to use an example. You're going to the Magic Kingdom, and there's evening extra magic hours, and you're arriving at the park, let's say mid to late afternoon. Walk us through a little bit of your personal strategy here, Mike, in terms of how you attack the parks, and how does the extra magic hours work into there? Do you kind of like put everything off for the extra magic hours? Do you just pick up wherever you'd like to, and the extra magic hours are just basically to you, supplemental park hours, or how does it work for you?
Well, by that time, I'm hoping that a lot of the families have gone back to their respective hotels for that afternoon swim when I'm getting there.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, around 2, 3 o'clock, after that parade at Magic Kingdom, it seems to empty out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I go in, and that's when I hit the headliners, Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain, that stuff. And by then, by 5, 6 o'clock, I'll usually have, a reservation somewhere for dinner. Boom, hit that, and then back till 3 a.m. in some cases.
You bring up a good point there, Newell. And Len's talked about dining beforehand. With the morning, he doesn't like to do it before the park. He gets to the park. But what about evening, Len? How does your dining plans on evening extra magic hours plan out? Do you eat during, earlier in the day? Do you eat? It doesn't really affect how you eat. I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'll generally eat later if I'm in the park with the evening extra magic hours, because usually I'm trying to wait people out and have them leave the park. And so for me, it's a great time to have literally a 9 o'clock dinner reservation,
mm-hmm.
because that's usually the time that parents are like, okay, it's getting late for the kids, let's take them out. The servers are kind of winding down. The restaurant reservations are easier to get. You can be a little bit more relaxed. People aren't trying to rush you out the door, because the crowds aren't that bad, but the servers know that they've still got like 3 more hours to be in the park or whatever. So it's great. One of the best meals I ever had was at the San Angelo Inn Restaurante. Literally, the reservation began at 8:55 p.m. on an evening extra magic hour night, and it ended up being like 16 people there, and we all just kicked back, and the waiters kept bringing us tortilla chips and everything, and it was really relaxed, because by the time we got our drinks, pretty much everyone else around us had already left. So the waiters just kind of took it really casually. They didn't rush us because they knew nobody else was coming in. They knew we were a big party, but they only had to concentrate on us. Worked it really well. Then we walked outside and walked around World Showcase. It was great.
Cool. Let me ask Scopa, what when you're talking about evening extra magic hours, how does that affect your park touring in the daytime before the extra magic hours?
Well, before the daytime, I would probably not even venture into that park till probably late afternoon. I'd probably be at another park. What I would do is, it's funny because Lynn stole my thunder. I mean, a couple of years ago, I was talking to a couple of people in Tusker House, and I happened to have I think it was a 7 or 7:30 ADR there on a night that there was extra magic hours at Animal Kingdom, and they said this is the best time to come in here because we seem to have all kinds of empty tables, and we can serve you better, and extra magic hour evenings is the best time to look for an ADR right around the last hour that the park is open to the general public. So I want to echo what Len said. But getting back to your question, Matt, the thing is that you think about you have to put yourself in the mind of both the resort guest and the off-property guest and what they're thinking about doing. And you think that the off-property guest is going to try to get whatever they want to get in before the park closes. And then if it's extra magic hour extra magic evening hours, then they tend to think about maybe getting out of the park as soon as the fireworks is over, let's say in the Magic Kingdom. So I usually just hang around, and I might go to a late dinner, and then I'll start thinking about doing some attractions. But as far as during the day, I'm not even worried about getting into that park till maybe after 4 o'clock.
Interesting. Len, what about when you're spending? Let's say you're at Epcot, right? You get their park opening, and it's evening extra magic hours that evening in Epcot. Tell us. I mean, you're going to be spending the day in Epcot, so it's not like you're going to be riding Living with the Land all day, and waiting for the headliners later on in the day. How does what's your strategy for that park in terms of like you're doing your? I assume you'd be doing your regular park stuff, like riding the attractions in a generalized touring plan in one way or the other during the daytime. So what happens at nighttime for evening extra magic hours?
So really for me, there's two things. One is if I know I'm staying for evening extra magic hours, I'm definitely taking a nap during the day because that's going to let me stay up later. But usually the evening extra magic hours for me are walking around, soaking up, sort of the atmosphere, the ambiance of the place, and revisiting either a couple of favorite attractions or just kind of walking around and looking at things. Again, some of the best times that I've had in Epcot, since you mentioned that, are walking around between 9 and 12 and really just walking through the pavilions and looking at all the details at night. Because the lighting is different, the mood is different, and all the parks are different at night. Looking at those at night, it's just fantastic. I really use the time for that.
That's a great point. So let's talk about a little bit about when we're talking about extra magic hours. It's very easy to take everything we've just said and apply it to the Magic Kingdom, to Epcot, and even to the studios. But Animal Kingdom is a weird park for many reasons, and extra magic hours are not any different from that. So when you're talking about the Animal Kingdom, Len, how does extra magic hours differ here? Because let's assume the Animal Kingdom closes usually at 5, and extra magic hours means it's open till 8. I mean, does that change like your afternoon break strategy? How does that affect it exactly?
You could actually get an afternoon break at the Animal Kingdom. It still has to be short. You couldn't do a 4-hour break or anything like that. But it does allow you to take a short break, especially if you're somewhere close like the Animal Kingdom Lodge or Pop Century, somewhere nearby. The thing that it does too is it allows you to see some of the attractions the way you wouldn't normally see them. Since the park is usually not open past dark, you really get to see what Expedition Everest looks like at night, or Kali River Rapids, right? Or even most of the lands. But the fact that it is open past dark sometimes gives you, again, that different view of what the park looks like. And really, it's a very pretty park at night.
Good.
So I think that's one of the reasons to use it.
Okay. Well, let's wrap this up with Newell. Tell me what's your preferred or even favorite, I'll use that word, park for evening and morning extra magic hours?
My favorite for evening is gotta be the Magic Kingdom. To me, it's the prettiest at night. Nothing looks better than Magic Kingdom at night. It's magical.
Interesting adjective you chose.
I've always loved, since I was a kid, walking around Tomorrowland with all the neon and around Cinderella's castle, and it's all lit up. It's just, there's something about it at night that's just unlike any other park. As far as morning extra magic hour, I guess Epcot would be my choice. This way I can do the big headlines in Future World, especially like Soarin' and Test Track.
How about you, Scopa?
Wow. I really like Epcot at night. Something about I think it was back in October 2004. I remember we ate really late at Le Cellier, and we were walking around Epcot, and it was closed. I mean, most of the people were gone, and it was just, I don't know, something about strolling around and just looking at the pavilions at night. It's such a huge park, and I think that what strikes me the most about Epcot is it's the one park where you can just stand at a certain point right near World Showcase, and you can see half the park. You can't do that with any other theme park. You can see most of the park, and it's like kind of eerie. It's kind of surreal, and I think that's what makes me pick Epcot above the others.
For me, I mean, Newell mentioned the beauty of the Magic Kingdom at night, and certainly I understand what you're saying with that, but I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna say that for night, it's no surprise that I'm gonna pick the studios for it, and I really think that the beauty of the park really again comes out at night. As much as the Magic Kingdom is nice at night, I really love Hollywood and Sunset Boulevards at night. I think they're very well lit up. With all that neon, it really goes to transforming the park tremendously, and the day-night difference is so much easier to see there at the studios. So for that, I mean, obviously I like the attractions and everything else about that, but the ambiance that Newell hit upon, I think, is something that really resonated with me with the studios at night, being the park of choice over there. For morning, yeah, that's a tough choice. I mean, I'm inclined to pick the studios again just to be able to get on.
Oh, come on, you're so predictable.
But otherwise, I would probably pick. You know what? If I wasn't going to pick the studios, if you made me choose something else, I would probably pick. Oh, man, I'd probably say Epcot. Get Soarin' and Test Track out of the way, and be able to get those underneath your belt very early, and be able to enjoy World Showcase a little bit more during the day without having to backtrack so much. Well, what are your thoughts?
I think for morning, I think I tend to look at it from an efficiency perspective. Magic Kingdom is the best. For evening, I like either Epcot or the Animal Kingdom, but because they're pretty at night, but for different reasons. The pavilions are pretty at night at Epcot, and I think the landscaping is the star of the show at the Animal Kingdom at night.
Very good. So you like you're a big fan of the people that cut the grass over there.
Exactly.
Very good. Well, this can do it for us today. I want to remind all of our listeners that this episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by All-Star Vacation Homes. And right now, All-Star Vacation Homes has got a great special going on. If you stay for 4 nights, you'll receive an additional night free during select nights in the fall. That's right, from August 14th to December 17th, 2010. If you book 4 nights, receive an additional night free. There are some details and a few blackout dates to check out. You can find all the information at www.allstarvacationhomes.com. Thank you, Mike. If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.